What's up, y'all? You are listening to For the Artists, a podcast brought to you by Creative M Projects. I'm your host, Melissa Sharee. And of course, I'm excited because we have another feature. Okay, this woman that I'm bringing on is a queen in every sense of the word, okay? If you're watching, you can already see the bright lights. Okay, but let me not get carried away because I'm so excited to have this person on, and I'm honored that I can call her my friend. She's bringing the heat, y'all, from South Carolina because that's where she's a native of. Um, Joy McElveen is a commercial model actress, child play specialist, determined, courage, perseverance, overcoming, and doing the impossible. All these are attributes that Joy knows well. Growing up, she always had a love for the entertainment world, even though when she was younger, her dreams were actually to play in the WNBA. Ooh, we're going to get into that. She attended the University of Southern Carolina, Aiken, and Lehman Performing Arts College, where she fell in love with the stage. And I'm sure the stage fell in love with her. Her first play, How I Learned to Drive, earned her an Irene Ryan nomination. Oh my goodness. She is the producer of the 6-time award-winning short film Hands to the Sky, directed by Kim Towns. And this award-winning short film is about overcoming the impossible, which, we can get into. I'm sure she does that every day. It's an African-American family that overcomes tragedy and obstacles stemming from society's misconceptions about autism, which aired on Aspire TV network. Joy has appeared on the OWN's hit drama Queen Sugar, ABC's Single Parents, Netflix comedy Friends from College, Amazon's Bosch, and the hit YouTube series Paws, Raws, and Giants. Okay, which earned, by the way, 11. Okay, 11. Not 10, but they was like, we gonna go ahead and get that 11 Daytime Emmy nominations and 2 Indie Series Awards for Best Supporting Actress and Best Guest Star. In 2020, she launched Joy is Everywhere, which is how we met. Okay, she can talk about her amazing organization that just exudes her essence. She started to enrich a child's life through sustainable, joyful experiences that nurture mindfulness and empathy. She believes in creating a future in which everyone is connected to and inspired by joy through the values of creativity, joy, compassion, and fun. Limitless possibilities. That's what Joy says, okay? And she's very happy to be joining the Actors Play family. There's a lot of other things that you are doing, girl. We can't even get it all on paper. I had to shorten it a little bit, okay? But Joy, say hello to the people.
Hello to the people. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me, for inviting me. And when you read over all of that, your bio, I just have to sit in a moment and just say, it's been a wonderful journey. And of course, the things pop up. It's like, I'm here. It's like, and it's still going and it's still unfolding. And I'm still wowing myself every day because sometimes I'll be like, man, you sure I don't do this? I think I can do some more. But here we are.
I love that. You know what? You're living in the wow every day, like
Yeah.
even still. Like that's amazing.
Yeah.
But you know what? That first of all,
Tell me.
let's just talk about your name, okay?
Okay,
Because
okay, okay, okay.
no one can even say your name without even having joy bubble up. And look at that smile. I mean,
I know.
it's so fitting.
I know after a while, I know when I'm feeling good with something because I'll look at someone and I go, my cheeks are starting to hurt. That's when I'm like, it's good. Like, people feel good, like, when something's good, whether they get goosebumps, and I get those too. But when our cheeks start to hurt, that's when I'll be like, it's real good.
Now, were you like this as a child, or did you grow into your name? Like, were you always just that little ball of like joy and
I
energy and
was
light?
always this little ball of joy just because my original name is Jocelyn Sharee McElveen, but my mom is Joyce and I'm Joy. And so when I was a little baby, they just was like, look at her, she just lights up. And my mom always said that I like had this smile, like this bright baby, and she just be like, you're just a joy. And I'm like, so I just stuck with it. And I'll never forget that growing up in South Carolina, you know, you go to church with your family and everything. And I'll never forget this woman came up to me and she said, baby, what's your name? I said, well, my name is Joy. And she said, it sure is. But do you know what your name means? And I said, no, ma'am. She said, one day you're going to know exactly what that means. And I would say now, today, I know what the joy means and what, because it came with just a responsibility, but it's almost not even a responsibility. It's just a calling. So my joy is my gift and it's bigger than me. So I can't contain it. It's up to me to spread it out.
Yeah.
And if I do that, then I'm selfish and I'm not one of those. So,
Yes, we
yeah.
know you're not. So tell me more about wanting to be in the WNBA. So I mean, was that from a little kid too? Were you just like always athletic?
So before the WNBA, when I started playing ball, I was 6 years old. That's when I first picked up a basketball. And prior to that, my mom was like, I want her to try everything. So she put me in ballet, she put me in tap, she put me in dance and all of those things. And they were fun. But I was like, I want to go do sports. And so I remember picking up a basketball and I like started learning how to do it. But at the time, the WNBA wasn't around. And so I used to tell my mom that I wanted to be in the NBA. I said, I'm going to be one of the first female in the NBA. And then they created the league, the WNBA. And I was like, man. And I wanted to do it, but I just I wanted to play basketball with the boys. That's how I felt like you get better. Because I wanted to be, if I felt like I could sustain with the boys, then when I got out there with the girls, I'm like, I'm in it.
Yeah.
So I wanted to play with the boys, and then I ran track. I wanted to run with the boys. My mom said, listen here, you is going to be my little girl. And I said, yes. But yeah, it's always been mine, sports and just constantly being active, just, you know, all those things, and like was really competitive. And my biggest supporter was my mom. And so whatever I said I wanted to do, she would find a way to make it possible. And I am grateful for the community and how that came about. I am my mom is a single parent, but in the military. She's a retired sergeant major. And so the military was my family. So I always had a cheering squad. I always had like many different dads and moms and cousins and sisters that would come and support. And yeah, that helped shape me. And I'm just really grateful for all of them that were like, well, we know little Joy, if she want to do it, we're going to find a way. So, yeah.
And you were just open to that. You were just open to all these, because you know sometimes people have personalities, they have hang-ups, and they're not open to receive what, you know, miscellaneous, random, like maybe not blood related people have to offer them.
I think, you know, if I think about it, there's always been a knowing, like an inner voice, an inner now I know it's God's voice.
Yeah.
And now I know like it's spirit speaking to me. But at the time growing up, I didn't know what that was. But it was like I always knew that I knew something. And like just to constantly question. Like I was always one of those ones that questioned and always was like, no, I want to do it. No, you say no. Yes, I can. How can I do that? Or mommy, I don't know. It came to me. A story that reminds me right now that pops up is I remember getting a letter when I was 14 or 15 years old that I had made it on this special basketball team. And this team was going to get to play overseas. I was going to get to represent the US. And I was like, well, how did I get this? Didn't really know how I was going to do it. And I was like, Mom, I want to go. And we looked at it and I was like, man, it's expensive. I don't know. And all these things. And I was like, no, Mom, it's like, I'm supposed to do this. And it's almost like when I know what I know and I put my mind to it, that's why one of my things is really determined. Like if I know, then it's going to happen. And so she was like, well, here we go. So she did what she's been done in the past. She went to our community and they helped raise the money for me. And the National Guard, South Carolina National Guard sent me. And so I went overseas, I played, I got to play in Italy and in different, in Venice and Lake Como and Florence and all these things at
What?
15, and
Wow.
I'm representing all these other countries, and I'm like, yes, you know. But even on the flip side of all those knowings, there's things too where I would even question and be like, I remember I would have my talks with God and be like, I'm so young, but why am I experiencing such heavy stuff? Like,
Mm.
this seems so big, or this seems so heavy, and like, why? But again, it comes to that thing. If you're, you know, what is it that they say? If you're giving something, there's a great responsibility that comes with it, like the
Mm-hmm.
call. And so, as high as I've been, I've experienced some really low lows too, and the the parallel and how do you bounce back from it and move forward. Um, and through that, how I do that is again through community, but the power of prayer. And I appreciate that. Like my family taught me how to really sit down and you know, talk it out. But it's been some low moments too. So I don't want it to be like, yes, joy and everything's great, wonderful, and da da da. Because I've had some of those really low, ugly moments too, where I've questioned a lot of things and even questioned if I wanted to be here.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, those moments, I'm grateful for them now too, because I can share about it and know that of true on the other side of it was, as they say, when I reached the mountaintop, on the other side was glorious. But when you're in the valley, it don't feel good.
Mm-hmm.
But those come the greatest rewards, and because I learned what my strength, I learned who I really can count on. I learned the power of who I am, and all the, and did I pay attention to those tools that my mom gave me, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and all of those things, and they worked. I'm here. I'm able to come and share them with you, and so and everyone else. So yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's so deep because I was thinking as you were speaking about the knowing, right? And you
Mm-hmm.
being able to really understand at a young age that there was a voice, a God voice that was speaking to you. And as you were speaking, I was thinking, wow, so I wonder if she ever had, any doubts because it seemed like that voice was very clear to you at a young age, but I guess part of the human experience is you do go back and forth, it seems like, between the knowing and the, well, do I really know?
Yeah, and as I've gotten older, I learned the vocabulary of how to name those feelings. And so nowadays I've learned that it was the syndrome,
Mm-hmm.
or the unworthiness, or the um you know, before I started learning to do my work, I would say I was a recovering perfectionist, because
Mm.
you know, recovering perfectionist who's moving from a place of proving,
Mm-hmm.
people pleasing, and performing. Yes, I'm in the arts and all those things, but I had learned to mask. I had learned to survive and how I needed to do, but not really surviving, but not really thriving from my true authentic self. I was thriving, you know, surviving from a place of, will this person really like me? Or can I do this? Or can I, and you get to do all that. And that began, I was exhausted. I
Mm-hmm.
exhausted myself of just trying to do all those things. And then finally I was like, I can't do it, you know? And I really had to begin to ask and say, okay, if, 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 if I know what I know to be true,
Mm-hmm.
which I know that Spirit and God loves me, and that there is favor over me, and I'm protected in love, then that means that all those gifts that people speak of, they do exist in me. But how do I find them? How do I access them so that I can move and believe in them when the next person don't?
Yeah.
And so then you start, you know, and you break it down, and it's one day at a time. And even sitting before you today, I still have moments when I'm like, now I say I know, but do I really know?
But do I really know?
Really know?
But it's like there is an anchor. It's like there is
Mm-hmm.
an anchor in the soul.
Yes.
And when you have that anchor, you might move around a little bit, but
Yes.
you're not really gonna go. You're not gonna leave that spot because you're anchored.
No.
It's that's kind of what it's like.
It is. It's the anchor. It's on the ship will go out far, and the anchor may pull a little bit and tug this way and all those. But if you are really solid in your foundation,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where I give all of my credit to my tribe, to my friends, to my mother, to
Mm-hmm.
my family, to everyone who has helped shape my foundation. That I know won't move. It may
Mm-hmm.
rock a little bit, it may experience a little earthquake, but we've set it up that it'll move with it,
Yeah.
but it won't shatter down. So I'm yeah, it's a journey. It still
Yeah.
is. But I'm
It still
excited
is.
because now I have the tools that when it does get tough and when we do have those human experiences and everything, and my word of this year that I speak about with everything, I think you and I even talked about this word a lot, and I'm spreading it wherever I go, is grace.
Mm-hmm.
Grace.
We did talk
Giving
about it.
giving myself, allowing myself permission to give myself grace, to give
Mm-hmm.
the next person grace, um, because it's something about that word and also the meaning of it. But when you say it, it soothes and it
Yeah.
reminds you that you are the knowing of it. So,
Mm-hmm.
so
Grace.
grace.
Okay,
Now you're
so
gonna be saying it.
I'm gonna be saying it. Okay, so we're gonna get into some theater stuff, but before
Yes,
we
tell me.
do, because you have brought this up already multiple times, just in the time that we've been talking, I have to hang there for a minute. So as you talk about community, and as you talk about your tribe, and you've shouted out your mother and your
Mm-hmm.
friends, and
Mm-hmm.
military folk, all these people, and how you were open to that. I just want to. I guess I'm just wondering, how can somebody, 'cause listen, everybody does not have, how can I phrase this? It's not that everybody doesn't have community. I would
Yeah.
say that everybody doesn't take advantage of the opportunity to press into the community that is available to them,
Yep.
right? So I
Yes.
kind of want to talk about how, I mean, I guess how you got there. I mean, you said you were, it was
How
kind of
you?
like that for you as a young person, but then as you moved into being older, being able
Mm-hmm.
to make some more decisions for yourself, I
Mm-hmm.
guess independent of, a
Mm-hmm.
parental figure, your mom,
Mm-hmm.
how did you choose to stay in community and find the community that has been giving you a source of foundation and strength?
Just like with anything, like when I made the decision to move out to LA from the East Coast, I wasn't at home. I was in South Carolina. I was living in New York before I moved to LA.
Mm-hmm.
So that means I came out here by myself. And that means I had to build community. And just with anything, it's a trial and error. Like, and how I've been able to survive out here is trial and error. However, what it is knowing, number one, who
Mm-hmm.
you are.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be self-aware of yourself. You got to be self. So I knew what my quirks, my personality, what I bring to the table.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was already established, and you have to do that when you're finding community. So because you don't want somebody to come in and shake who you are and to tell you who they think you are. It's like, no, you're not gonna tell me. I'm already knowing who I am, and I'm actually auditioning you to be my friend because I may not want you to be my friend. You know what I mean? But it is.
I passed. I passed
A
the audition.
you pat.
Anyway, carry on.
You was winning, but you but you do you it's a lot of trial and error, and it's a lot of and even in picking out, you learn how to be okay with being alone. Like even you have to be okay with that. And I had
Mm-hmm.
to learn how to be by myself, learn how to, before you can find, that's what I say, before you can find anyone, ask yourself that question. Can you be your own best friend?
Mm.
Can you spend time with yourself? And do you like who you are in those moments? And when
Mm-hmm.
you have that awareness, there is something about the universe and spirit that and energy, however, vibrations, frequencies, whatever you want to call them, that begins to move that is unexplainable. And when you begin to access that and you have awareness of it, you will draw in people And you'll be so amazed. You'll be like, and you might meet them at the I done met people at the grocery store, at the post office, at this place or that place where I didn't even know. But because I've been so in tune with myself, that's what I'm attracting. The law of attraction is powerful. And so when I came out here, I was already like in a sense of like, yeah, I'm by myself. And I experienced those loneliness and those times where I'm like, I'm lonely. I just want a friend, or I do this. But then I just learned to fall back on it and say, it'll come. Patience. Patience. Easier said than done.
Yeah.
It is easier said than done. Because we want things, and we are living in a culture where we want instant gratification, instant validation, instant success, instant. You know, like you just got and it's not like that. And so I've learned now that there is quality more than quantity. You know, when I first started, I had a whole group. I thought everybody was my friend. I was like, yeah, that's my friend. And then something happened in the course of that. And I started to feel also another way to decide who and how you find your community is. When you leave somebody, do you feel energized or do you feel depleted? You gotta ask those questions. You know, like I know when I'm with you, when I left you, I was like, my cheeks hurt. I felt good.
Yeah.
Like this is good. So I wanted to keep that around. And so those are the people. And then when you get clear on what it is and what type, it all comes to you. There isn't a playbook. There isn't a magic source of it. It's just, it starts coming to you. You'll just be like, oh my God, I want people around that makes me feel good. I want someone that pours into my tank. That's what it has. It has to be a lot of reciprocity. It must be. So if you give, you must be able to receive too. And if you notice that you're giving more than you receive, then that's something that you got to take a look at, because it will, if not, I ran into a part where I wasn't, and I went through some health issues, and I learned in that, because always, which I tell people all the time, is when you have health issues, you can go to the doctor and they'll tell you how to fix it that time. But if it keeps coming back, then you've got to ask yourself, what's the deeper root of it?
Yeah.
What's really behind it? And a lot of it comes because you're just tired. You're tired. Your body just say, I'm tired. I'm tired of giving to Joe and Susie over here, and Susie and Joe ain't giving me nothing. And so from there, you're just like, okay, and take your time with it, you know, and just go with it and keep trusting that the right people will come to you because you are in the right place. But before you ask all of that, make sure that you are okay with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, learn to be your own best friend first.
Learn to be your own best friend.
I'll
start singing on here because
we will learn to be your own best friend.
Okay, so I want to ask you about your theater experience, because you found the stage a little, like, I'm not gonna say late, but what were you, in college when you found theater?
Yeah, well, I found the actual theater late, but performing and storytelling, that was, child, I grew up in the South where there's a big family and we have barbecues and cookouts. And I loved the church. So I was a part of the church choir. I would do the church plays. I would do the school plays and things like that. But basketball was my first love. So I would do those things, but I still wanted to get back to the court. Okay. And then what happened and how that switched was when I got to college, I lost the love, and I want to say this because I lost the love for competing on that level. Because when you're in college and you play a college sport, it's not just fun like it was before. It's a job. And so I was getting up at 5 a.m. and I was going to do this and that, and it wasn't making me feel good. So as I say that, that means that I've always been in touch with what makes joy feel good, whether I knew how to say it or to really, you know, identify it. I always be like, I didn't care for that. And I got to college and I lost the love for competing. And then I was told, that I was going to be a red shirt. And what that means is I was able to practice and participate, but when it came down to games, I would have to sit out. And for someone who had been playing since she was young, I was like, sit down. I don't do that. Mm-mm. I don't sit down. And I would just, and I remember questioning. I was like, I don't want to sit down. That, yeah, no. And I went to my mother and I said, Mama, I don't think I want to do this no more. She said, now why, Joy? Because I said, I don't want to sit down. I ain't meant to sit down. I ain't meant to sit down. And she said, now, Joy, well, that's a decision that you have to make on your own. And so that was like my first truly life-changing decision, because I knew that once I made this, the order of my life was about to change. Didn't know how big, but I knew that I was about to take something that had been my big, thing.
Yeah.
It was a shift. And then my minor was already theater. My minor was theater. My major was mass communications. I wanted to be in broadcast journalism. I wanted to come and tell you about the news, darling. Reporting live in Channel 4. Someone over here done got shot up.
You better make the news, church. And then take a collection for the person that got shot.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness.
And so then I was like, okay. And so I went, was doing theater, and they have, at my school, they were called the University Theater Players. And I remember seeing a bulletin, and it was like auditions, the new season was starting. And, I was like, you know what? Well, I'm going to be fearless, and I'm going to go and audition. And my mama said, what you going to do? I said, I'm about to audition for a play now. I'm about to go to the play. And her and I had already, our dates, my mom would take me to plays. When they would come to South Carolina, that would be me and my mom dates. So I got to see all the Tyler Perry, Medea, and everything when they was on the stage. And so I knew I always had a love for it. I just hadn't done it. And this was my opportunity to go out. Didn't know what was going to happen, but I was like, I'm going to go out. And they either going to like the joy or they ain't going to like the joy, but I'm going to go give it a try. And then I went out, and as they say, I got bit by the actor bug. And like when I got on stage, and I remember, my first show, How I Learned to Drive. I remember auditioning and the process of it. And I just remember like feeling so alive, and I wanted to tell this story, and I wanted to move. And I loved how I made people feel the emotions of empathy and compassion and, all of these things, and smile. And I'm like, ooh, this is good. I want to stay here. And I just ran with it, and I hadn't looked back. And even the moments now when I don't feel like my career is moving fast enough, or hadn't got the big break, or, you have to decide what is the big break, or what is success to you, and all that. I'm glad I get to have moments like this where I go back to the beginning, and I get to say, it was that feeling, it was that emotion, it was that excitement, the unknowing that I wanted to know more about. I wanted to jump. And I jumped. Yeah.
Jumping. All right. Wow. Okay, so you've done the acting, then how you got into producing?
So yes, so they're all tied together. I've learned that in all business, in all facets of it, why not know it all? So that when someone speaks about something, you have the knowledge of it, whether it's you're a master or expert at it, or if you're just like, I know my basics, but I know what I'm talking about, so you ain't gonna be able to get on over me. I always say to everybody, know all of the roles, or know something about it, because if someone asks you a question of it, you're able to move in, and then you're able to speak on it. And so producing and television, or like producing and acting and writing and collaborating, creative director, they all tie in. They're all under this big, beautiful umbrella. It's just that sometimes you have gifts that are stronger with it. I love people. I love to make them smile. I know that I can go and speak to people, that I can talk to people, that I can collab, because I can be like, And that's truly how producing came. So it's almost like another gift that was inside me that I didn't even know I had.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm currently speaking from you right now. I get that work. I'm at the Jimmy Kimmel Live show now,
Love
and
it.
it's such an amazing experience here. And today, like this, today is just I'm just beaming because I got to also perform um, my first comedy skit bit. So it's gonna
What?
be on. It's gonna be on tonight. So guys, if you're watching late night show tonight, you're
Yes.
gonna see me in this comedy skit. You
We
know,
gonna
with
watch.
Starbucks. So I'm really stoked about it. But how that came about and how this came is I've always wanted. You know, you. This is where it is. Oh, it just came. I love my little aha moments that I get.
Uh-huh.
If you have a desire and you write it down, you've done it. You've said it, you've written it down, and then you let it go and watch how the universe will bring it back to you.
Mm-hmm.
So I said producing. Now, I didn't really know what it is and all those things, but I learned that I had the quality of it. And I said producing. One of my friends allowed me to produce on the short film that you spoke about in my bio. And
Mm-hmm.
how that came about it because I was working with my friends.
Mm-hmm.
And if a friend needed something, I said, oh, you need a person for that? Now, hold on. And I'll go to my phone and I call that person. And then that person comes. So that's producing. I'm producing this. I'm bringing this so that we can get this big project together, you know, to bring it together. And it was wonderful and it did really well. And then I left it out. And then last November, like all these things that have come with children, I used to run from kids, not in a bad way, but like,
That's hard to believe.
no, like, and what I mean that is I ran from the gift because I
Mm.
thought that if I worked with kids, then it made me less than, or I would be missing out on my blessing because I wanted to be an actor. I wanted to do the producing. I wanted to do these things.
Yeah.
And, with children, I was like, oh, that's my side hustle. I knew I could make kids laugh. And, that's my hustle.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been the most purposeful gift that I could ever imagine, that I'm so grateful. I love my little ones. And once I got out of my own way with it,
Mm-hmm.
all those other desires that I wanted, the producing has opened, the kids opened the door so that I can let my light be shown. That,
Wow.
and so I've been talking about that and just saying that sometimes our paths or rerouted, but it all leads to where I speak of God, where God wants you to go. And producing came about it. And that's how that Jimmy show, this is a story that I have to tell you how it came. So last November, I was working with some kids. And whenever I work with kids, I sometimes I don't know who their parents are. I don't go and ask them. I don't be
Right.
like, now who your mama is? I show up and I say, God, tell me where you want me to go and do that. And so I was working this party, and I always have somebody kid that just falls in love with me. They become my best friend. So I leave, and my mama would be like, well, tell me who was your best friend today. And
Mm-hmm.
so this particular party, I said, girl, this little girl, her name was Jane. And my mom said, well, who is Jane? I said, well, when I was there working, and we were at a private ranch and we were on a farm. So I had 20 little kids on this farm. Now, how I'm talking to you is how I talk to these little kids. Now, they 7. I said, listen here, Coach Joy don't want to lose nobody today.
Mm-hmm.
So I need you to go find a partner. So they find their little partners. And I said, we got to stick together because we don't want the camel or the elephant to come get us. And they
Right.
just start laughing. And so the parents are like, who is this girl? And so this little girl came up to me and she said, Miss Joy, Mom, I guess she had overheard her parents talking about me in one of the breaks or something.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, Miss Joy, my mama said she gonna call you. And I said, okay, Jane. I just said, okay, Jane. Now I kind of brushed her off. I didn't think it was anything and whatever. And she said, Now when my mama said she gonna call you, that means you're gonna be in my life for a very long time.
Oh.
Now that time I leaned back and I said, all right, Jane. And so the other parents heard her and they said, do you know who Jane Perrin is? I said, no, but let me tell you, this little girl done blew me away already. They said, oh, you go find out. So the day kept going and we kept going. And then when we were done, at the end, her parents did approach me. Mm-hmm. And her parents said, who are you? And I said, well, I'm Joy. Well, they said, we do know that. That we do know. And they said, but we've watched you for 2.5 hours do what you do, where you've light up kids' life and all these things and move. And they said, have you ever thought about television and all that? And I said, uh-huh. And now you guys know what my desires are. And I said, uh-huh. Plain and simple. They said, have you ever thought about producing? Uh-huh. They said, well, you know what? Give us your number. And I looked at him, and her parents were Jimmy Kimmel.
Wow.
And Molly Kimmel, who happened to be the executive producer of the show. Mm. And as they say, and the rest is history. Yes. And here we are. And so it's about, leaning into it all.
Leaning into it all. Joy, there are so many nuggets and gems that you are dropping today. Okay, this is one of those where it's like on repeat. People just need to put this on repeat, listen to it again and again, let it get down, marinate, resonate, season you up on the inside, and then you're gonna be good to go.
Ooh,
like seriously,
that's gonna be a good dish, honey. Ooh.
It's a good dish, girl. You are dishing it out, okay?
Well, I appreciate it.
Like, wow. I mean, from the minute I met you, I already knew. Like, you are just, there's not even a word to describe you really, because you're indescribable. But hopefully they can feel, I think they can. It's not a hopefully. I'm pretty sure that they can feel all of that even in listening, or I know they can see it from watching. But
yeah.
I was going to ask you, okay, because now you've written these things down. You have stopped running from, you have many gifts, but you stopped running from that one gift that actually opened up the door for the other desires to, come. Mm-hmm. So you continue to like just kind of revision there was something that you said, and it just made me think of something that I've been kind of experiencing myself, because it's like we have dreams, we have desires, we have things that we want to see come about. And I feel like there's something in the process where we have to continue to revisit those things to stay open to the possibility of those things coming or a shifting into maybe something else. Are you tracking with me?
Yeah, and you said it perfectly, which is, you have to, for me, flexibility. And you have to let go of the thought of how you think it should be. Mm-hmm. Your plan.
Yes.
You can have a vision and you can write it down. And I can have all these things. I can go and paint this wall and tell you everything of my desire. But then I have to let it go and you have to trust that it's about timing. Mm-hmm. Timing, alignment, and seasons. And knowing that in the works of it, your gifts will make room for you in whatever season that you're in. Mm-hmm. But even in that season, if you're not doing what you think you should be doing, you are doing what you're supposed to, because it's still in alignment with where you're going. And in that, you have to, it's to let go of it and just know, I don't know where I'm going, but I'm on my way.
Yes.
And so I've had to allow that. And is that easy? No. Because even with me sitting here where I am now, if you would have asked me just last year, any of these things, mm-hmm. I didn't see it, because I wanted, I thought I would be I would have my series regular already. I would be on my show. I wanted that, or be in the movie, or be there. And look at where I am. Is it any less? Is it any grander? No, it's still beautiful. Yeah. And then I had to just let go, because, so here's the truth. as I say, a truth when you say that it doesn't always go good, but you just have to trust. When I first got here, I was excited. Wow. And then there came a point, and I've only been here 3 months. I'm getting ready to go into my fourth, so it's still very new.
Okay.
But in the beginning, that was great. Then there was the weeks that came, and I began to settle into this is my routine, because this place I had to learn new time management. It's new structure. It's a schedule, something that I wasn't used to. I was used to like a type of freedom.
Yeah.
And I started to get really sad. I started to get really funky. And I went through a period of low, like where I was, you know, we can call it depression or anxiety. I just didn't know. And I didn't know how to communicate it, because I didn't want God to think that I was ungrateful for what was given to me.
Yeah.
And so I began to suppress it. But when you suppress things, it'll come out in other ways if it need to. And it did. And I was suppressing instead of just asking and just beginning to talk to somebody and say, how do I make sense of this? I don't know, but I feel like I'm a little off, or I feel like because I felt coming here that I was going backwards, that I was behind. And all of that is a lie. So sometimes you have to rework the beliefs that you've said, because those beliefs are not true. And I had to say, no, that's a lie. No, that's not right. And that's, you know what? And what really helped me was a friend of mine, which when you find your community, then you start to get little gems without like surprising. And a friend of mine sent me a video. The video, come to find out, wasn't even supposed to come to me, but it came to me. And it happened to be of an actress that I admire and love, Niecy Nash. And she was speaking of she was giving her testimony, and she was speaking to a bunch of young people about her career and where she was. And I remember watching this video, and I just started to be in awe. And I started to wail. Like I started to have these tears fall down my eyes, because I was like, it was like she was speaking directly to me, even though she had done this a long time ago. It was like what I needed to hear. And when she said something, it clicked for me. She was doing a job, and she thought it was going to be her big break, you know, and she thought it was grand. And if you don't know about acting, a lot of it is hurry up and wait. She was, you know, she was in the dressing room, and she was practicing, and da 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 da. And something happened, and then it didn't go the way that she thought. She was sad. She was upset. And so she came in the room, and she's like, I had a moment with God. And she And I was like, oh my God, I know what you're talking about, because I've just had this moment. I just started questioning too. And then she said that the lead actress, something happened with her husband, and she couldn't leave. And Niecy always would carry with her Bible on set. She would take it with her everywhere. And I may not carry my Bible, but in my phone, I can go to the Bible app, I can go to a scripture, I can go to something if I need something. There's a tool in it. And I was listening to her. And so she said, you know, nobody could get to the lady. She didn't want to come out. She didn't want to do anything. And she said something in her spirit told her, said, let me try. So she took her Bible, and she went and knocked on the door. And long story short, she went in there, and she was able to reach the lady, something that no one else was. And when she switched, she came out, and she said, I realized that I was on assignment. And those are the words that I needed to hear for everything. And so I take it back to originally what you asked for. What do you do when your vision, when you have to rework it or whatever? Realize that in your vision, and while you're on your way, God will place you on assignments that are not what you may not understand, but it's an assignment to get to where you need to be.
Yeah.
And so I looked at it in this way, that I'm here at the Jimmy Show on assignment.
On assignment.
And on assignment. And with that, even today talking to you, this clarity came a little while ago. And what did I get to do today? I got to act. I got to be a character. I got to do these things because I realized that I'm on assignment, and my job is bigger than that. So once you release it and be okay with the flexibility and the open of it, and realize that in seasons, gifts may change. but they're all still part of the grandiose destination.
Yes. Okay, I know I need to be sensitive to your time, girl. Okay,
Yeah, I'm
but
watching you.
but before we get off, we have to talk about joy is everywhere. Like we have to. Okay,
Ah,
so and all the gifts and all the visioning. I mean, at what point did you realize that? Oh, I got another assignment, and that is start this
well,
organization, this movement.
that assignment came when I call the pandemic and COVID the great equalizer. It was the
Mm-hmm.
great world equalizer because COVID didn't care, and it still doesn't. It doesn't care what color you are, how much money in your bank, what you do, or who you know. It shut you down.
Mm-hmm.
So in the pandemic, when the pandemic happened, and the year that we were not moving,
Mm-hmm.
I was fortunate enough that I did the pandemic alone, meaning like the week I had a pod.
Mm-hmm.
I formed a pod with my friends, and
Mm-hmm.
so on the weekends I would sneak off to my little pod and see my friends, but during the week was just with me.
Yeah.
And when the pandemic happened, I when I realized that we weren't gonna go nowhere, like we here,
Mm-hmm.
I started to ask different questions. And the question I asked in the beginning, so we got locked down on March 13th, child, I won't forget that day. I asked the question, what would you have me do in this season, God?
Mm-hmm.
What would you have me do? And the thing was, do your work and all else will come. So I began to do my work. And what I mean by doing my work was I knew that I wanted to get a life coach. I wanted to talk therapy. I wanted to do more, that was a time when everybody was doing all these other things. And so I did.
Mm-hmm.
And I got my life coach. And I started working with my life coach. And a life coach helped me take all of these things that I'm talking about with you because it's so grand. And if you don't narrow it down and fine tune it, I can get lost in it.
Mm-hmm.
And so they helped me to make sense of it. And I got clear on the vision of that season. And so I wrote it out. And I knew that in doing the work, I was like, okay, I know that I am not going to lose my kids, but I don't really know what to do. And the year prior, I had started doing things on my own. I had got my own LLC, and I said, I'll start with doing play dates with joy. And play dates with joy was awesome. And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, okay, this is cool. And I was like, I like the people that I'm meeting and
Mm-hmm.
doing. But there was always this thing inside of me where I was like, there's still somebody that's missing.
Mm-hmm.
There's still somebody that's not experiencing this, because I was fortunate enough that I was with the kids that they're wealthy. They come from parents with a lot of money. But
Mm-hmm.
what happens to the kids that don't have that, that
Mm-hmm.
don't have the access to it? How do they know what joy is? And I just started asking the question, how can I get joy to them?
Yeah.
Can I go visit over there? Can I go do this? Can I do that? And I started asking. And Melissa, I don't truly know. I remember in my meditation, because I'm really big on meditating. I have my non-negotiables, my essential vitamins. Besides taking the vitamins, I have my essential vitamins to my health. And that is, I meditate. I like writing. I love getting out in nature. I
Mm-hmm.
love to dance and I love music, to get that going. And so in one of my meditations, I started to ask, and it was like, joy. Joy is everywhere. Take it. And it was almost like nonprofit. And I remember going to a friend and said, I don't know, I just got something the other day about joy is everywhere or something with the children or whatever. And it was almost like she knew what to say. She said, you know what? I have somebody to talk to, and that's Alicia.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Mm-hmm.
how, just to see if what you're even thinking and what your vision is makes sense that can be done.
Yeah.
And when I interviewed with Alicia, I will never forget when I was done talking to her, she said, it's been a long time since a vision has made me cry. And I said, she said, your vision is so clear. It was so clear
Mm.
because there was nothing attached to it. There was no performing. There was no pleasing. It was just a need that needed to be served, where I was like, how do I get joy to them over there?
Yeah.
And then birth joy is everywhere. and which is this organization that is about creating and bringing children sustainable, joyful experiences through whatever it may be, because joy can be experienced. I experienced it just talking to you guys today through the arts, through sports, through community, through fashion, through dance. Like, so that's what I want, you know, and I wanted to create this moment to do it, and I want other people to help me to spread it. So if there's kids who like, you know, Miss Joy, I've never been to a Broadway show before. Well, I want to take them to a Broadway show. And I want to gift them, and I want them to experience and see the arts, because that's where my first joy came from, was when my mom took me to those shows. Or when I go play in basketball and I'm like, oh, I get it in there. Or when someone decided just to say, hello, I see you. Because we all want to be seen. And I just want children to be seen and heard.
Yes. All right. Joy is everywhere. Be on the lookout, y'all, because she coming for you with that joy.
Okay.
And this I know, because we collaborating on something too.
Yes, we are, Queen. Yes, we are.
Oh my goodness. I feel like we could talk forever, but I know
we could.
can't.
But that's the thing with you and I. I'm like even the last time we were together, I was like, oh my God, it just goes by fast. I'm very grateful for this moment. I'm great. And I want to say that to you, and say that I love your mission and what you do, and how you inspire children and people to just the gift of talent and music and singing and just of the arts. And you remind me of my gift. And thanks for allowing me to come onto your platform just to share a little bit of just my journey and how I'm still continuing it on it. But like, it feels good to be able to pay homage and to say thank you to the ones that helped me to get here today. And I hope that, that your audience picks up something, takes something, put it in their little pocket and be like, I like that. That's going to work for me a little bit.
I do believe they're going to pick up a lot, because I have picked up a lot. So I appreciate you coming on. I mean, you're always saying something that resonates with me and where I'm at. Confirmations, things that make me go, you know? So, you know, I'm walking away from this like, let me go get my journal, because I need to write a few things down that relate to some things that I've been like pressing into. And now it's like, okay. So, I mean, thank you for being vulnerable, for showing up. You know what I mean? Like, you show up. And I'm definitely going to invite you to come back on again.
Yes, please do. Please do. This was fun. I'm like, this was like my first, truly, child, this was my first podcast. Like, you know, I've done Zooms and stuff, but this is different.
You ready now? I done broke you in. I done broke you in. Watch the doors open, okay?
I'm a pro.
But you can be like, but it started with.
Yes, it started.
Okay, but real quick, if people want to be able to connect with you beyond listening to this podcast, where should they go to find?
Okay, Joy? I am on Instagram, and my Instagram is at Joy JOY.MCELVEEN, which is MCELVEEN, and my organization is on there too, which is at Joy is Everywhere INC. And so that's there. And then if you're on Facebook, you can find me there too. But Facebook is my whole name, and that's more family. But I'll say Jocelyn McElveen, because some people be like, found you. But yes, and you can check out the website, joyis-everywhere.org, to learn more about what I'm doing with my organization and to keep up with what you and I have coming. And I look forward to hearing from everybody.
Yes, y'all. All right. Well,
all right, my darling.
This is not goodbye, but this is
until the next time.
Until the next time. Yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up, okay? And let everybody know that once again you have been listening to For the Artists, which is a podcast brought to you by Creative M Projects. Shameless plug. That is, we are a 501c3 tax exempt organization. So you know what? Make a donation, support the artist. Today we've been speaking to Joy McElveen. Woo! she is a powerhouse for real, y'all. Like I said, you're going to listen to this again. But until next week, y'all already know what it is. Keep creating from the inside out. Peace.